New Year's Eve had always seemed quiet and cozy to me. But this time, everything was different. When my daughter-in-law said, "We're going to put you in a nursing home. You're too old to be useful." My hands shook as I held my bags, and my heart felt shattered. I looked at my son, hoping for support, but he said nothing. His silence was worse than any words of anger. I knew staying meant losing myself completely. So, without waiting for morning, I quietly packed a few essentials: a change of clothes, my documents, the money I still had, and my old backpack. I couldn't look at them without feeling bitterness. At the bus station, it was almost empty. People returning from celebrations looked at me as if I were strange. I couldn't stop crying. My hands trembled, and my legs barely held me. I sat on a bench and wept like I hadn't in years, unceasingly, hopelessly, yet with a hidden will to survive. Suddenly, a young woman approached. She was in a simple coat and holding a bag of groceries. She quietly asked, "Are you okay?" Through tears, I told her everything. I told her how my daughter-in-law wanted to send me to a nursing home, how my son stayed silent, and how I felt old, helpless, and useless. She listened carefully. After I finished, she pulled out her phone and made a quick call. I didn't catch most of the words, but one part stuck with me. "Dad, I found her." "Yes, I'm sure." She turned to me and said, "Come with me. You don't have to stay here." I didn't know if I could trust her, but her voice had a confidence I hadn't felt in years. I stood and followed her like a child finding a guiding hand. We got into a taxi. On the way, she explained that she knew my family. She had seen my situation and wanted to help. My thoughts were messy. I thought about my home, my past, my son and daughter-in-law, but also about a future I couldn't yet see. "Where do you want to go?" she asked gently. I closed my eyes. For the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to simply breathe and feel a chance to start over. "Somewhere no one knows me," I whispered. She nodded and smiled. "I know a place. You'll be safe there. You can rest and figure out what to do next." When we arrived, I realized this wasn't just a temporary shelter. It was a small house with cozy rooms and a garden where people could walk, talk if they wanted, or just sit in silence. Here, no one judged, criticized, or made decisions for anyone. I was given a small room with a bed, a table, and a wardrobe. That first night, I sat quietly in the dark, feeling a peace I hadn't known for years. I thought about my son and daughter-in-law, but no longer with fear, only pain I was learning to let go. The next day, the young woman brought me to the kitchen. Other residents were there too. I saw people of different ages, different stories, all searching for one thing: the chance to live their own lives, not someone else's. She sat beside me and said, "I'll stay nearby until you decide what to do next." For the first time in years, I felt I could be useful. I didn't need to prove myself to anyone. Just existing here already mattered. And there, among new faces and walls, I first thought about my own life. Maybe this was an escape from the past, but it gave me a chance I hadn't had in years, a chance to find myself. The next morning, I woke to soft light filtering through the curtains. For the first time in months, I felt no pressure, no shouting, no orders. It was just simple existence. I went down to the kitchen. A few residents were already there: an elderly man reading the newspaper, a middle-aged woman drinking tea, and another lady drying dishes. The young woman introduced me. "This is our new resident. She arrived yesterday. Let's help her get settled." I nodded quietly. It felt strange. No one judged me, watched me suspiciously, or asked why I came. People simply existed around me. After breakfast, the young woman gave me a short tour. The house was small but tidy. There were common areas for relaxation, a small garden with benches, and private rooms with simple furniture. "No one will make decisions for you here," she said. "You can do as you wish, but you'll always be safe." Those words sounded almost unreal. I was used to being judged, criticized, and forced to be useful. Now I could simply sit, read, or walk, and no one called it useless. Over the next days, I observed the residents, trying to understand life here. Some were quiet, others were outgoing. One man often sat in the garden, lost in thought. The woman drinking tea shared small stories, simple and calm. I found my place slowly. My hands started helping, cleaning, setting the table, preparing tea. It was an obligation, it was a small way to feel useful for myself. After a week, the young woman asked to talk. I want you to understand that you can stay here as long as you want. No one forces you. You can decide your next step when you're ready. Her words, though simple, were heavier than any command. I realized I could choose for myself, and for the first time in years, it scared me. One evening, I walked in the garden. The moon reflected in the small pond. I ran through my life: husband, son, work, losses, disappointments. All these years, I felt I had to meet others' expectations. And now, under the night sky, I thought, maybe now I can live for myself. The next days, I began talking to residents, learning their stories. The man with the newspaper had lost his family to illness. The tea-drinking woman had lost her husband and child in an accident. Others shared their stories plainly, honestly, without tears or pity. All of them sought what I did: a simple life where you could be yourself. I started helping, making tea, planting flowers, arranging books. Each day, I felt more part of this small world. My loneliness slowly faded, though I sometimes thought of my son and daughter-in-law. But their judgment no longer set my mood. One day, the young woman said, "I want you to meet someone who knows your story. He can help you find peace and resolve old issues." I nodded nervously. The past I tried to escape was returning, but this time, I felt ready to face it. I spent the next days preparing, cleaning my room, organizing my things. I was ready to confront those who had caused me pain, but this time, I had strength. When the day came, I realized the house, the new people, and this quiet life had given me more than safety. They had given me a chance to live again. Weeks passed. I settled into my routine: breakfast, walks, small tasks, conversations. But life rarely lets you fully escape the past. One morning, I received an unexpected call. The number was unfamiliar. "Hello," I said, trembling. "It's your son," a quiet voice said. "Joan," I whispered, startled. I wasn't ready for this. He tried to explain that he understood he had made mistakes, that my daughter-in-law had been cruel, but he wanted to reconcile. My heart tightened. Part of me longed to turn back time, but another part, stronger, remembered the words I had heard: "You're too old to be useful." I didn't respond immediately. I wrote down everything I wanted to say: years of hurt, fear, and frustration. Then I hung up. The next days were difficult. I realized my peace could be disrupted by the past. But I also realized that isolating myself forever was no solution. I had to choose whether the past would control me or I would take responsibility for my own life. The young woman returned and asked if I was ready to meet my son. I nodded. The meeting was calm and brief, without pressure. When he arrived, he looked different. He was no longer the man who stayed silent while I suffered. He was tired, but sincere. "Mom, I know I'm late," he said. I didn't know how to act. "But I want to help." I stayed silent, seeing the truth. He was now an adult, making his own choices. "You can help me," I finally said, "but not by deciding for me. I want you to understand. I can live without your approval or judgment." He understood. We spoke about the past calmly, without blame. Just being heard was enough. After they left, I felt a lightness I hadn't felt in years. The past was present, but it no longer controlled me. Independence and life were now my choice. I returned to the daily routine, helping others, sharing stories, building a small community of support. Weeks passed peacefully. I grew used to my new rhythm: morning tea, garden walks, helping others. I noticed changes in myself. I felt free to make choices, even if someone disapproved. My room became a small sanctuary. I added small touches: flowers, a photo of my husband, a book. It was my space. I became friends with another resident, a woman who had lost her family. We read together, walked in the garden, shared quiet moments. Simple life, yet full of companionship. I received a letter from my son. He understood my choice and respected it. I didn't answer immediately. I needed peace before engaging again, but I felt the past's grip loosening. The young woman who brought me here remained a friend, guiding but letting me choose. I learned to listen to myself, to feel my needs, and not postpone my life. One evening, sitting in the garden, the sunset reflecting in the pond, I felt peace. Real peace. The kind built from small victories, a day without tears, a conversation without fear, realizing my worth isn't tied to others. I realized life continues. Even in old age, a new beginning is possible. Releasing resentment and accepting myself made me strong. I participated in small projects, helped residents with tasks, shared knowledge. It wasn't about pleasing others, it was about being valuable to myself and those around me. People came to me for advice or just to talk. I understood that usefulness isn't meeting expectations, it's being there for yourself and others. Months passed. I learned to live simply but fully. I discovered joy in reading, writing, and talking to people who became my new family. I no longer ran from life, I chose it every day. One evening, the young woman said, "You've changed. You live for yourself now. That's what matters most." I nodded. Inside me was silence, not emptiness, but freedom. I knew old age wasn't the end. It was a beginning. A life where I could be useful, feel, help, and simply exist for myself. This time, I wasn't afraid of the future. My life belonged to me.